So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and welcome to the Galaxy S7 Edge versus the Huawei Honor 7X. Now, I'm very curious about this comparison here because, when you think about which one to buy, the S7 Edge is a 2-year-old flagship, but it's a flagship, and the price point you're going to pay for these two phones is about the same. Now, the S7 Edge is around $250 or so, maybe a little bit less, and I can prove that to you here in a second. And the Honor 7X with tax and shipping should be around, $250 as well, depending on where you're shipping to. As you can see right here, the Galaxy S7 Edge comes in at right around the price I just mentioned, and you can get this. I would definitely recommend you get the SK version or the Korean version, even the international version if you could find it. Try to stay away from the US version, but you can even find the international model for around the same price. Now, going to Safari, you can see right here that the Honor 7X is going for $199.99 for multiple different colors. Now, the Honor 7X, don't get me wrong, is a very pretty phone in design. But, it wasn't designed with the intentions of being a flagship. It was designed to kind of make it look like a flagship, but offer budget specifications. So I want to talk about the reasons why the S7 Edge is a much better value here. And this kind of goes for all older flagships. When you look at older flagships, a lot of them are better values. Even the flat S7 is probably a better value than this smartphone. So let's talk about the reasons why. Number one is design and the build differences. So let's take a look at the S7 Edge. We all know this is a stunning device when it comes to design. It was one of the first that, Samsung really hit home hard on. Now, the X6 and S6 Edge were some of the first Edge panels that they made. They had the Note Edge way back in the day, but this one was really one of their best ones, and I think probably the best looking Samsung ever made. But we'll have to see if the S9 takes over that. But this is really a beautiful device. The S8 Plus and S8 are probably a little bit better as well, but this was a really great device, and this is a reason why a lot of people love the Note 7, but then the Note 7, we all know what that happened. But you can see you get a curved display here on S7. You get a compact body with a large display. This is really easy to one-hand this device, unlike, like iPhone 7 Plus and stuff like that. And then the rear is just very flat and has a pretty flat camera design here, and it comes in multiple beautiful colors. Now, over here on the Honor 7X, you get an LCD display versus that OLED. So you can definitely see this thing washing out. Even here on camera, you can see that display just washing out on pretty much every angle. And that does matter in the real world because you're going to see that on a day-to-day when you have this phone laying in the bed and you are scrolling like this or whatever and you can barely see. It's going to be all washed out. You're going to have to lift the phone up just to see that. So in terms of design and display alone, the S7 Edge is a much better deal, coming in around the same price point as the Honor 7X. Okay, so let's talk about software here between both devices. Now let's go to About Phone here and let's go to software information, and you can see I do have Samsung Experience version 9.0 and Android 8.0 Oreo here. So definitely has the latest version of Android. This S7 Edge, I installed the custom ROM of Oreo. They will be coming out with Oreo pretty soon here, more than likely in the springtime for your S7 Edge if you haven't got it yet. Now on the Honor 7X, you will get EMUI here on this device, which kind of looks iOS-like in my opinion, but overall it's a pretty clean software. And my issue with it though is that it kind of has these internal sluggishness that I'm not used to seeing, on some Samsung devices, especially when you put, Oreo on them. Now, Samsung does slow down a little bit if you don't manage the device, but if you manage the device, it does fine. Now, the EMUI over here sometimes just has some weird slowdowns that I'm not used to seeing on most devices. So overall, the software feature set, both of them do offer a lot of features, but I think Samsung's features are a little bit more intuitive and easier to find and use than on EMUI. So I would definitely give the software crown to Samsung here on this front. Now, neither one of these have the best software you could probably ever want on a smartphone. I think that would probably be what Pixel offers, but it still gives you a pretty good software experience on the S7 Edge. So I would say this is a win here as well. So another thing to keep in mind is performance. Again, with the intentions of making a phone that is going to be geared towards the millions of people, the S7 Edge, versus making a phone that is probably going to be geared towards the niche market of like people who want a really good Android phone that looks really flagship. I mean, a lot of people are probably not going to find the Honor 7X like they would find the S7 Edge in terms of marketing. So you're going to see this a lot more on billboards and stuff like that. Not anymore, but it was much more marketed than this phone, so a lot more people know about it. So it was definitely geared to be a better performer, and it is. So let's go ahead and take a look at, how they perform. I'm gonna do a quick speed test here. So let's go to calendar. You can see that the S7 Edge ahead, calculator, about the same, camera, definitely that S7 Edge there, Instagram, S7 Edge again. So you can see you just get better performance on an older flagship than these newer budget devices. So that alone would be a reason I would say money's better spent here on the left. Let's go to PieGeek. I missed that one on the Honor 7X. Let's go to PieGeek. And you could see, I didn't actually set the location, but the S7 Edge was ahead. A Jetpack Joyride. Let's get into the gaming. And here's where the S7 Edge will crush the Honor 7Xs in gaming. Look how much faster that loaded. Now, where you're really gonna, probably be a little bit confused is if you want that 18:9 display. This device looks modern. The dual camera on this phone is kind of a gimmick. I'm gonna be honest. The dual camera, I don't really care this phone has a dual camera because that second lens doesn't work nearly as well as some of the flagships with dual cameras. Plus, on the S7 Edge, you will get selective focus into this device, so you can still do like a blur with the single camera on the S7 Edge. So again, another one up for Samsung there. Now let's go to speed test, and you could see speed test is ahead there for the Honor 7X in that one. Let's go into CPU-Z, and let's see what happens. So you can see right here, both do have, octa-cores. Well, yeah, octa-core processors, but the Samsung is clocked higher and has Exynos. You have a high silicon Kirin processor here, the 650 at 2.36 gigahertz. So even, a newer phone with an octa-core is clocked lower than an older flagship. So again, another reason why it's a little bit slower. Also, the S7 Edge will give you 4 gigs of RAM versus 3 gigs of RAM in the US, but you can get the 4 gig of RAM version of the Honor 7X, which I have yet to try. So I am speaking from the perspective of the US Honor 7X. Okay, so let's talk about battery life. Now, both of these phones do have power saving modes and ultra power saving modes. And here's one area where the S7 Edge does really well for a flagship. It has a 3,500 milliamp hour battery. It's a huge battery in this little device. So, this thing can really go the distance. And on the Exynos version, I've had no overheating with this battery. Now, you do get amazing battery life here on the Honor 7X as well, just because it doesn't push as much power or pixels as the, S7 Edge with a 2K display versus a 1080p panel. But overall, I found them to be about the same when it comes to the battery life. The S7 Edge might be a little bit better when under heavier, tasks and stuff like that, but both of these will easily get you through a day, so this wouldn't be a deciding factor for me. So when deciding to buy one of these devices based on their cameras, you will see this dual camera like I said earlier, but that dual camera doesn't really impress too much when it comes to its portrait mode. Now the photos on the Honor 7X are actually quite good for a budget device, but I do think that you still get better pictures on the S7 Edge. It has dual pixel AF, which is actually the same system that's in this Canon right here, brought down to a smartphone. And it really just focuses super fast on things. So you can just tap and boom, snap a picture, boom, focuses, snap a picture, boom, one more time, snap a picture. And you get a little bit better detail, well, actually a lot better detail in the S7 Edge photo over the Honor 7X. So again, the camera was designed to be at a flagship level. The Honor 7X is trying to do the best it can for $200. So you're gonna get a much better camera, which is definitely a big selling point, I think, to me, if you're buying an S7 Edge over an Honor 7X. Phone call quality, both are good, but again, I found a little bit better reception for this device over here on the left, which is the Samsung, over the Huawei. Now, the Honor is not too bad. It's pretty good, and both have about identical speakers. That's one thing I will say. They both have headphone jacks, and they both have about identical speakers when it comes to phone call quality, or when it comes to speakerphone quality, excuse me. But phone call quality I found to be a little bit more reliable on the Samsung on this one. But overall, still, they're both going to get the job done there. It's not too much better. I just found that I had, lower signal when I was out and about on the Honor 7X than on this phone. That's why I mentioned that there. So what's the conclusion? The conclusion is I think overall that, when you're looking to buy an Honor 7X, don't forget that you have options like this. Like the S7 Edge at around the same price point. You can also have options like an LG G6, for example, which is also a better smartphone than this and has plummeted in value due to the non-popularity of the smartphone. You also have options like the LG V20. You do have options that are older flagships that will outdo some of these budget devices. So don't forget that when you are thinking about this. So that kind of makes this phone maybe not even necessary. I think that this phone really will only target people who are unaware of things like that. But anybody who's aware that you can get a phone that outdoes this just because it's an older flagship, we'll probably go with the older flagship. But I might be wrong. Would you go with an Honor 7X or would you go with the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge? Would you choose an older flagship smartphone or would you choose a newer budget smartphone? Newer budget devices are getting really good, but older flagships are remaining very good because there's only been incremental updates over the years. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you found this video helpful, enjoyable, entertaining, informing, do me a favor, go ahead and click that like button for me. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more. Nick here helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well and peace.